So yes, it was a good night at the Styx concert with House of Blues in Chicago. This is again a photo anybody could have taken, and we're going to make it much better than it already is. And it's all right; it's nothing special, but this is a memory. This is a great memory, and this is something I put on Instagram, but not as it is now. But if you make it easy for the viewer, whoever looks at it, it just is a more enjoyable experience for them. So right now, this is pretty messy, and I will show you why. First of all, the story is the band, and I would say the audience and kind of the atmosphere. Here's part of the band and the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the blue lights. What takes away from the story? High contrast areas, lots of detail down there, not needed for the story. Lots of noise, high contrast areas, this rig. There's nothing up here that really adds to the atmosphere that we can't capture below. Over here, nothing really going on, like nothing interesting. You could think that that's good, or you could crop it below this line and lose some of the atmosphere. That's going to be a trade-off that we could talk about. But let's get started. So I think this is a little crooked. First thing I want to do is straighten out all the photos. Like, you don't want crooked photos. Okay, at the bottom, let us move this up to the bottom of his feet. We don't want to lose any of the band member right there. On the top, we want to get rid of those high contrast areas down here. And then I would probably pull it right here. I'm looking at this. This isn't necessary right here. The balcony and the ceiling of the balcony. It's not super high contrast, but it's some different element that's at the top that's going to draw our eye up to the top left, and that's not needed. So I'm going to crop it just below that line. We're not going to lose too much up here, so it doesn't really matter. When you start cropping, look along that whole edge, right? So if I'm going to pull it down to about here, now I got the problem of, is this high contrast enough right here? Do I keep them or do I let them go? So if I pull this down to the ceiling of that balcony, now I have this high contrast on the right-hand side. I'm just going to pull it down a little bit more so I lose that. I think the important thing in this photo is the light beams through the smoke, and we have that element. I don't think we actually need to see any of the light source there. And we have, on the left-hand side at the top, we have enough. It's kind of a darker element, which is good. Okay, on the right, we have none of this is really needed. We're going to pull it in as much as we can. See on the top right there, we have a little bit of red. That means there's something there, right? There's a curtain there. We don't even need to see that. I would just crop it like so. Okay, there's always one. There's always one. Red shirt. This is a little pro tip for everybody. If you're outside in a public space, don't wear red, because if I'm around, I need to take a photo, you're probably going to ruin it for me. If you look at this picture, eventually you're looking at this guy. I mean, look at him. He just stands out like a sore thumb. We can't get rid of him. It would be too much to crop him out. Like, we want to stay. Part of this story is the ambiance, like the atmosphere, the vibe. And so we can't crop him out. What we can do, though, on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, is that your right? I don't know, is high contrast, not good. So let's get rid of that. Pull that in just a tad, because I like this face pointing in. All these guys, the audience is pretty good here, so that's all good. This is a dark spot, doesn't really bother me. I like these lights. This audience is all right. It's kind of darker, and so the highlight is here, right? All the brightness of the photo is right there, and we have some detail around it. So this is, not too bad. Let's look at the original, see the difference. So here's the original. You could see right away all the extra stuff in the picture, and as compared to that, this is something you could post. This looks interesting. I took a few seconds later, I took this photo that I already edited similar to the way I did the other one. Which one would you think is a better one? So I like this one because these blue lights here, it's darker at the top. It's the light highlight is in there. But this one has got some problems. Look at the band members. One of the lead singers, the pianist here, is looking away from the stage. Well, that's not very inviting. That doesn't help the story. It's kind of odd. This guy's got some weird stance. He just happens to be in some position in the middle of something where his arm's out right. He just doesn't seem into it. Then you have this guy, and all I could think of, he's like wondering what the hell's going on, and he's looking for cues from his band. So I feel it's a little awkward. And if the story is the band and they're being awkward about it, that doesn't help me. It really doesn't help the situation. Let's go to this other one I took. It was literally seconds later. This is the one I would keep because even though we have this big white thing, I like the color better on the other one. We had the blue and it framed, that dark blue framed the band better. This band is much more inviting to the audience. There's a much better relationship there. This guy is facing the stage. This is a stance that makes sense to me. And this guy is also, he's not looking at the rest of the band. This is just a much, as far as the band goes, which is the story here, right? Even though we have this white and it's not as dark as the blue and the other one, I feel like this is the better photo and here, let's compare the two. Again, this is more dramatic, high contrast. The lighting is more even here, but the band is in a much better position. So I hope you enjoyed that, or at least learned something, or kind of it illuminated your thinking about photography and composition. Remember, what's the story and what takes away from the story, and remove the stuff that takes away from the story. And then whenever you're doing that, there's always some trade-off. You're going to lose something, but do the best. Use your judgment. And that's your judgment is what your style is going to be. So go through your camera roll, go through your albums and your photos, and apply the same logic. Whatever you learned from this, whatever the thinking is, apply it to your photos, and I guarantee you they're gonna turn out better. So with that, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next